The funeral of Corporal David Barnsdale, who is based at Woodbridge in Suffolk, took place today. He was killed in an explosion as he cleared bombs in Afghanistan. Alex Dunlop was at the funeral service.
The bravest of the brave, the words of the Prime Minister describing men such as Corporal David Barnsdale. Behind the hearse, his parents, sister and girlfriend, cocooned by hundreds who came to St Peter and St Paul's Church to comfort and support them. In the words of the vicar leading the service, a phenomenal number of people, as you can see, have turned up to see David Barnsdale off. In a eulogy, a friend said he was a boy who could make friends in an empty room. The 24-year-old bomb disposal expert was on his second tour of southern Afghanistan when he was killed by an improvised explosive device. Defusing them is to put yourself on the front line of the front line. 6 out of 8 local servicemen killed in Afghanistan this year were caught in explosions.
Corporal Barnsdale died leading his men in what must be one of the most dangerous tasks in the armed forces, that of deliberately searching for improvised explosive devices. He embodied the finest traditions of a soldier and a leader.
He loved a drink, a smoke, a laugh, and was always willing to be the first to dress in drag. I loved his dimples, his curly hair, and the way that he would always put a smile on your face when you had a bad day.
We as a family are just immensely proud of David's achievements, and he will never ever be forgotten. He will always be his mum's little puppet.
3 engineers based in Wimbish have now lost 3 of their own in Helmand. Corporal Barnsdale was buried with full military honours. Today, those in his hometown gave him their final send-off. Alex Dunlop, BBC Look East, Tring in Hertfordshire.
Of course, on Armistice Day, across the whole region at 11 o'clock this morning, groups of people came together for 2 minutes of quiet reflection. And in Norwich, the newly restored War Memorial was rededicated. Kim Riley is there now.
Yes, Stuart, and it does look actually very special. It was 6 years ago that the City Council was forced to shut down the memorial and the memorial gardens round about it. But for safety reasons, it's been a lot of money spent since then, and today, finally, it was back in business for the armistice ceremony. Well, we've been to many of these ceremonies across the region today, and what struck me in so many of them was the importance played by young people.
92 years after the guns fell silent on the Western Front, in Ipswich 200 schoolchildren paid their tribute to those who gave their lives. Ellie Vince and Jordan Wright remembering their great-grandfathers.
I've placed a cross in his grave to say that he died in war and we're here to remember him.
My great-granddad, he was in the World War II and he sacrificed his life for us. He was really nice and he never gave up.
At the Guildhall in Cambridge, 16-year-old bugler Christopher Brasnett sounded the last post.
A few years ago I went on a school trip to Flanders to see all the battlefields, and to see the scale of all the war graves in Flanders is absolutely incredible, and it's definitely something that should be remembered forever.
In Norwich, the rededication of the War Memorial after a £2.5 million restoration scheme attracted a large crowd.
We remember with thanksgiving and sorrow those whose lives in world wars and conflict, past and present, have been given and taken away.
At 11 o'clock, across the region, silence fell.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Well, those were the scenes outside the town hall in Colchester this morning at 11 o'clock. There was a separate ceremony at the Colchester Garrison at 11. Now, that featured by ITV. They featured a live roundup from ceremonies around the country, from places including Wootton Bassett. And after Wootton Bassett, up came Colchester. Well, the troops from 16 Air Assault Brigade were clearly not in solemn reflection. They were smiling and chatting during the silence. And that led to a lot of complaints. Mike Liggins has been talking to local people today and getting their reaction.
It looked bad. They were sort of shuffling about and talking. It was quite poor, really, when you consider that it's 4 servicemen.
Apparently it didn't look very good.
I shouldn't think it did, no. No, that's bad.
This matter you've mentioned about not standing to attention at 11 o'clock might have been just a sheer oversight, but I have great respect for them.
Well, the truth was the ceremony had been delayed in Colchester because a widow and a number of other key people from other families, military families, couldn't get there in time. They delayed it, and that, of course, looked bad when it came to the silence beaming around the country. This is a comment from the commander of Colchester Garrison, Colonel Thomas Fleetwood. He said it's ridiculous to suggest that personnel from 16 Air Assault Brigade would intentionally disregard the 2-minute silence, especially when their comrades are fighting in Afghanistan. It's deeply offensive to question soldiers' understanding of the importance of that moment and suggests a complete ignorance of the military family and their unshakable bonds.
Kim, thank you very much.
So how does our poppy money get spent? This afternoon I spoke to Jonathan Taylor from Wootton in Bedfordshire, who was in the Royal Signals for 6 years and served twice in Iraq. He left to study to become an osteopath and has now set up his own business with the help of the Royal British Legion.
As soon as I left university, I just couldn't find a job. I had to start my own business, and I really didn't know how to start my own business. And I didn't know I couldn't get a bank loan. And I went to the British Legion to ask them for help, and they put me on the Be Your Own Boss scheme, which provided me with some training on how to set up my own business, how to write a business plan, and they gave me a small grant to help me on my way. And
what difference has that made to you?
I was in the army from 18 to 25, so I had no business experience at all, so it was absolutely invaluable to me.
Do you think people realise that this is the kind of thing their poppy money goes towards?
I think people always assume that poppy money just helps elderly veterans, and poppy money helps veterans whatever conflict they've been in on. So whether it's Korean veterans or Falkland veterans or more recently Iraq and Afghanistan veterans.
And if you have been in the services for a while, like you have, how difficult is it to change career, both in practice and also mentally?
It's very hard because I had no experience of job interviews, very little civilian job experience, so it is quite hard to make that transition. Some people find it harder than others. I was okay until I finished university. When I finished university, I realised how hard it was to get a job, and I just couldn't find a job.
So how are things going with your business now?
Well, the British Legion gave me my grant, so I went on a couple of extra courses. I bought a portable massage couch, and I paid for my registration and insurance, so it's fantastic. It gave me a great start to my business. I've almost been going a year now. I'm treating in 2 different locations. It's going really, really well. It's fantastic.
Well, Jonathan Taylor, thank you very much for coming on the programme.
Thank you.